If you walk through your home right now, you'll probably pass a dozen doors without thinking about them. Bedroom doors, closet doors, cabinets, maybe even your garage. And almost all of them share the same quiet design. A rectangular frame around the outside, and one or more panels set neatly inside. It's so common that it feels invisible. But pause for a moment and really look at one. Why isn't it just flat? If a door's only job is to block an opening, why carve recesses into it? Why divide it into smaller sections? Why shape those subtle bevels that create little valleys and ridges across the surface? Wouldn't a single solid slab be stronger, simpler, and cheaper to make? And here's the part that makes this even stranger. Most modern doors aren't even made from solid wood anymore. Many are hollow inside, some are steel. Others are fiberglass molded in factories. They don't expand and shrink the way old wooden doors did, so why do they still look like they were built in the 1700s? There is a reason this design exists. In fact, there are several. One of them solved a serious structural problem that frustrated builders for centuries. Another had to do with money and status. And the last one has everything to do with light and how your eye interprets depth and shadow. Once you understand what a paneled door really is, you won't be able to unsee it. You'll start noticing it everywhere. On cabinets, on furniture, on walls, on buildings that aren't even made of wood. To understand why doors have panels instead of being flat, we have to begin with something deceptively simple: wood itself. Wood is never still. Even after a tree is cut down, milled into boards, dried, painted, and installed, it continues to react to the environment. When humidity rises, wood absorbs moisture and expands. When the air becomes dry, it releases that moisture and shrinks, and it doesn't do this evenly. Wood can bow along its length. It can crown across its width. It can twist so the corners no longer line up. A wide, flat board is especially vulnerable because the forces of expansion and contraction have nowhere to go. If you've ever had a door that sticks in the summer but swings freely in the winter, you've experienced this movement. The wood hasn't failed. It's simply responding to the air around it. Now imagine building a large door out of a few wide planks glued edge to edge. It fits perfectly in its frame the day you install it. Then the seasons change. The wood swells. The door presses tightly against the frame. It jams. Or worse, it warps permanently and never closes properly again. Early builders dealt with this constantly. One of the simplest early solutions was to nail boards together side by side. Nails have a bit of flexibility. They can bend slightly as the wood moves. This method worked reasonably well for simple furniture like chests. In fact, some nailed wooden chests from the 1600s still survive today. But there was a weakness. The wider the uninterrupted surface, the greater the chance it would bow or twist over time. Lids warped. Doors pulled out of square. The structure might survive, but the moving parts often failed. So woodworkers began to rethink the problem. Instead of fighting wood movement, what if they allowed it? What if the center of a door could expand and shrink freely but still be kept flat? This idea led to one of the most important innovations in woodworking: frame and panel construction. Rather than building a door as a single slab, craftsmen built a strong outer frame. The vertical pieces, called stiles, and the horizontal pieces, called rails, were joined tightly at the corners using carefully cut joinery and glue. This frame provided strength and stability. Then, inside that frame, they placed a thinner central panel. Here's the crucial detail. The panel was not glued to the frame. Instead, the inside edge of the frame had a narrow groove. The panel sat loosely inside that groove. It could slide slightly. It could grow in humid weather and shrink when the air dried out. The frame held everything square, but the panel was free to move within it. This solved the problem beautifully. The door stayed flat. It continued to open and close. It could survive decades of seasonal change without tearing itself apart. That is the first and most important reason doors have panels instead of being flat. The design wasn't decorative at first, it was practical. But once this structural solution existed, something interesting happened. Craftsmen realized it could also be beautiful. Early panels were flat. Their edges were simply thinned so they could fit into the groove of the frame. Often this thinning was done quickly with hand tools. The edges were rough and uneven because no one was meant to see them until someone decided to turn them outward. Instead of hiding the beveled edge inside the frame, they flipped the panel around so the bevel faced the viewer. Suddenly the surface had depth. The center appeared raised. The sloping edges caught the light. What had been a hidden necessity became a visible feature. The raised panel was born. At first, this was not about luxury. It required almost no extra material. It was simply a reversal of something that already had to be done. But visually, it changed everything. The door no longer looked like a flat barrier. It looked shaped and intentional. By the mid-1600s, especially in England under Dutch influence, furniture and architectural details became more refined and expressive. Raised and fielded panels, where the border between bevel and center was sharply defined, became fashionable. They added crisp lines and strong shadows. And this brings us to the second reason doors aren't flat: status. A flat board was simple and functional. A raised panel required skill and time. If you could afford paneled furniture or doors, you were signaling something: permanence, craftsmanship, stability, wealth. Over time, that association deepened. Paneled doors became the standard for quality homes. Even when cheaper construction methods appeared, the look remained desirable. It carried meaning beyond its structure. But there is still another reason this design survived into the modern world: light. Stand in front of a raised panel door in the morning or late afternoon. Watch how the sunlight moves across it. Notice how one edge glows bright while another falls into shadow. The recessed areas appear darker. The angled bevel creates subtle gradients of tone. The door may be painted a single color, but it doesn't look flat. A completely flat door reflects light evenly. It can feel sterile and lifeless. A paneled door breaks the surface into multiple planes. Each surface catches light differently. Your eye reads this as texture and depth. Long before electric lighting, builders understood this instinctively. Carved moldings, panels, and architectural details weren't just ornamental. They animated surfaces with shifting light and shadow throughout the day. The panel shape became a reliable way to give even the simplest door visual interest without adding expensive materials. Now, here's where it becomes even more interesting. Most modern doors no longer need floating panels for structural reasons. Many are hollow core with thin skin stretched over lightweight interiors. Others are steel or fiberglass stamped in molds. They do not experience wood movement in the same way solid wood does. Yet manufacturers still mold in fake panels. Why? Because we expect them. Over centuries, the raised panel became embedded in our visual language. It signals door in a way a flat slab does not. It feels finished and traditional. A plain fiberglass slab might function perfectly well, but it can feel cheap. Add molded panels, and suddenly it feels architectural. The original function may no longer apply in many cases, but the aesthetic remains powerful. And this pattern isn't limited to doors. It appears on cabinets, wall paneling, shutters, furniture, and even garage doors made entirely of metal. What began as a clever solution to wood movement became a cultural standard. So why do doors have panels instead of being flat? Because wood moves. Because craftsmen found a way to control that movement without preventing it. Because someone realized the solution was beautiful. Because angled surfaces interact with light in a way flat surfaces never can. And because once a design becomes familiar, it reshapes what we expect ordinary objects to look like. The next time you walk through your home, pause in front of a door and really look at it. Notice the frame around the outside. Notice the recessed sections. Notice how the bevel catches light differently from the center field. What looks like simple decoration actually began as a practical answer to a stubborn, natural problem. Over time, that practical solution evolved into a mark of craftsmanship, then into a symbol of quality, and finally into something so common we rarely question it. Most people go through their entire lives without consciously noticing raised panels, even though they're everywhere. Once you see them, you can't unsee them. They quietly shape the spaces we live in. If there's another everyday detail you've always wondered about, something so common you stopped seeing it, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy uncovering the quiet history hidden in ordinary objects, consider subscribing. There's an entire world of unnoticed design waiting just beneath the surface. I'll see you next time.